First, I want to say that I want to give a moment of prayer on this because we got to thank God. So join me. Father God, by your Spirit, you lift us and sustain us and drive us forward. You give us hope. And through your Spirit, you give us inspiration. And as pastors, we humbly submit ourselves to your inspiration and the work that you are currently doing to bring us a series of messages that all the pieces are coming together by your hand and not ours. Even the pre-opening music as we were gathering this morning came in together along with our bonus music this morning. And Father, we thank you for leading us to where you want to be so that we can all come and grow into a deeper and richer understanding of your holy word. All glory, honor, and power is yours, now and forevermore. Amen. So our passage this morning comes to us from Luke, and it's the parable of the rich fool, which, okay, I'll read the letters out of here, and they'll be up on the screen. And then, thanks to bobsnook.org, I did not write the piece, but we're going to help understand the message that Jesus was teaching. So from Luke 12, starting at the 16th verse. There we go. Reading from the ESV. And he told them a parable, saying, the land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So it is with the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God. The teachings of Jesus. I hate building contractors. My time is very valuable. Where is he?
Oh, it's you.
What's so funny?
I'm sorry. My secretary called me on my cell phone just now. They told me she forgot to tell me I had an appointment.
And you think that's funny?
I'm sorry. I guess I should apologize. You see, when I asked her the name of the person I was supposed to meet, she said, it's a rich fool. Isn't that a cracker?
Very funny.
I'm sorry. See, I thought she was making a value judgment about you. But that's your name.
And you think my name is funny?
Oh, no, sir, not at all. I wasn't expecting Richard H. Fool himself, the wealthiest man in the county.
Well, I guess you wasted enough of my time. I wanted to talk to you about, do you mind?
I'm sorry, Mr. Fool. How may I help you? Is it about your barns here?
Yes. I want them torn down.
Mr. Fool, I built those barns for you last year. I used the finest materials and workmanship. Is there something about them that's wrong?
Oh, they're fine. They're just not big enough.
Not big enough?
No. My farmlands have produced a huge crop this year. And there's no way that all of this grain is going to fit in those barns. So I want you to tear them down and build me bigger barns.
Bigger barns?
Yes, to hold my bumper crop of grain. You can take care of that, can't you?
Well, technically, yes, I can, sir, but...
Good! When you're finished, send me the bill. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm throwing a party.
Party?
Yes, and the guest of honor is me.
You are the guest of honor at your own party?
Well, yes, of course. Am I not the only the richest man in the county? I am the richest man in the state.
Well, then. Now, would probably be a good time for me to collect what you owe me then.
What I owe you?
Yes, well, you haven't paid me all you owe me from the buildings that I built last year, these barns I built last year for you. You still didn't pay me all you owe me from that.
Well, just add it to my bill, and I'll pay you it all when I'm finished. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some wine, women, and song to devour. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you shall diet.
Excuse me, Mr. Fool, but I don't think that'll work.
What won't work?
Well, there's a pretty good chance you'll never pay me what you owe me.
What are you talking about?
Well, first of all, I heard you cheated your farmers out of what you owed them in order to increase your wealth.
Can I help it if those poor, miserable farmers can't add 2 and 2? But that shouldn't affect you. I'll pay you what I owe you.
I doubt it.
What do you mean by that?
Mr. Fool, did you give 10% of your harvest to the Lord?
Do you take me for a fool? Do you realize what 10% of my harvest would amount to?
No, but I'm sure you do.
It could feed a small city for a year. If you think I would just give away that much grain, you're badly mistaken.
Well, when you give it to the Lord, you're not giving it away. You're giving it back.
Giving it back? To whom?
Surely you don't think that you could have possibly produced this huge crop without God's help, do you?
Did God negotiate with all those farmers? Did God plant the seeds and harvest the crop? Did God swindle those poor stupid farmers out of their share of the harvest? God did nothing for me, so why should he get anything from me?
My secretary was right.
Excuse me?
I was meeting with a rich fool.
Well, if you want to insult me, I'll take my construction business elsewhere.
I doubt it.
Excuse me?
The Lord won't let you get away with stealing for very long, especially stealing from him. Now, if you'll excuse me, I don't want to be anywhere near you when the Lord deals with you.
I'm not going to let that hammer jockey ruin my party. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may.
So, as you can see, today we're talking about the rich fool. Like Pastor was saying last week about the rich man. Oops, sorry. Mike was some other kind of fundraiser where, and then God blessed them. They were willing to give the last $5 that they had in their pocket, or so they thought was the last $5 in their pocket. They go put on a jacket or a skirt or a pair of pants that they hadn't had on in a while. Lo and behold, they not only found $5 like they gave, they find $20 in their pocket. But they were willing. It was in their heart to give what they thought was the last of what they had. So God blesses those who give. Now, I'm not saying this was a widow's mite story by any stretch, but Rafielwe, which some of you have met from South Africa, needed money for her SAT tests. Well, I used my credit card, went online to make it easy, went online. She did all her paperwork online, and then she gave me the login. I went in, I put in my credit card to pay for her SAT test. It was Christmas time. My boss liked to give his employees, especially like the ones that work directly for him, out of his own pocket, he would give us gift cards or something for Christmas. Well, I was going to be going on leave, on vacation, and he hadn't gotten around to getting to the store to get the gift cards yet. So he said, tell you what, I'm just going to give you the cash. So he threw the cash in an envelope and handed it to me and said, here, I'll just give you cash. I stuffed it in my purse. Well, I had forgotten about it. Well, then I had paid for the SAT test, and about a week or two later, I was digging in my purse, and I had dug in my purse like a zillion times in that time frame. Never found the envelope with the money sitting in it until after I had paid for Raphael's SAT test. And wouldn't you know, that money was like 90% of what the SAT test cost. Again, I'm not saying it was the widow's mite by any stretch, but it's just interesting how he gave cash instead of a gift card. And I had been in that purse a zillion times digging and whatnot, and hadn't come across it, totally forgot about it. And then after I used that money for something for someone else, that money shows up again. Buyani, which some of you have heard us mention before, he wanted to go on a mission trip with the church, but being a day spring kid, being in high school or college, I'm not sure which at the time, didn't have the funds to go. His family doesn't have, by any means, the means to go. And he was one of the kids that practically lived at Day Spring. Day Spring fed him like almost year-round. Well, Bill did a funeral and was for a mentor, a pastor of his that was in one of our congregations, and totally didn't expect any payment for it whatsoever. He loved the guy loved him. It was a mentor relationship he would never, ever expect. And it was a funeral. Why would he ever expect funds from that? Well, his wife, his widow, sent Bill a check. Well, Will often prayed for Buyani through his struggles and stuff. And so we knew that there was no point in saying, we're not going to accept the money. She wouldn't have heard of it. Will wouldn't have heard of it, even though it wasn't expected. So what did we do with the funds? It was more than enough money to give Buyani to go on that mission trip. Even though he's poor, he's in a location and in a position where most people would consider that a mission trip. He wants to go on a mission. How could you deny someone who you would expect to be missioned to, to go on mission? So we used that check to pay for Buyani to go on his mission trip. Again, not calling it the widow's mite, but it's just ironic for outsiders, but for us as believers, we know it's God's will, and we need to recognize that. We need to recognize when God puts stuff there, when God is giving us abundance. Again, not the widow's mite, but abundance. This was extra. But we need to recognize as believers when abundance is put in our path for a reason, for his glory, for his good, for his works. We know that the Lord is Jehovah Jireh. We know he is the Lord provides. He is my provider, our provider as believers. Whether it be abundance or whether it be giving the widows, the one who gave the widow's mite, a little bit more to survive. He is a provider, whether it's that, whether it's manna just for today. He is the provider. So we also look at the Good Samaritan in Luke 10. What did he do? He gave freely. He gave the person's immediate need. He didn't give support forever, but he gave the immediate need. He took care of him. He didn't give out of a sense of what he was going to get back. It wasn't a quid pro quo thing. It wasn't a, I'm going to give and then I'm going to get. Because the Bible tells us where is that in our giving? The Bible tells us that's easy. It's easy to give to those who give back to you. It's easy to give to when you know you're going to get return back. That's not truly giving, is it really? Because you're getting back. So, and he didn't give with that in mind. He didn't give having any idea that that stranger might give back. And we don't know if the stranger ever did, but because it wasn't the point of the story. The point of the story was he left that stranger, left funds, and said, on my way back, if that's not enough, I'll give you the extra, not even knowing what the extra might be. He had no idea how much that bill would be, but yet he had faith that he would be able to cover whatever that bill would be, and didn't care what that bill would be. He did it anyway. So, the Bible tells us in James 2:14 to 17, it says, what good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed and filled, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. What if that Good Samaritan said, you know what? Good luck, buddy. I hope you do well. I hope, you know what? I hope you'll find yourself when I come back through, I find you well. I find you in better health than you are now. And just went on his way. What good would that have done to the guy? The guy was injured. The guy was fallen. The guy would need to be nourished to get back to health. He would need to be cared for. You know, what good was saying, I hope I'll find you better when I get back, and then been on his way. That wouldn't have done the guy any good. Chances are the guy would have been dead when he came back without care. You know, God gives us what we have on loan to do his works. It's not ours. It's ours to do his work. It's not ours for ourselves. Enough to take care of ourselves, but then to give to others, to make all of us have at least what's necessary, at a minimum. We also look at Joseph. And Bill and I were talking, and I said, some might say, you know what, that aren't believers might like to say, that's a contradiction in terms. See your Bible, that's a contradiction. God let Joseph store up abundance. Joseph and the king, they stored up abundance. They were allowed to store up abundance. Why didn't you let the rich fool store up abundance? It's not that simple. Remember what Joseph and them did with the abundance? Did they store up abundance for themselves, for them personally, for just their household? No. They stored up abundance. It was a revelation that they both could have ignored. Both the king and Joseph could have ignored, but they didn't. They recognized it as a revelation from God. But where was their heart in the storing? The storing was to help everybody survive what they knew from the revelation would be terrible times, drought times, lean times. There wouldn't be enough food produced at that time to feed everybody, to sustain everybody. They would need what was stored in those bumper crop years, the excess from then, to get them through this lean time. But it wasn't just for them. It was for the whole kingdom. They gave as people needed. They didn't store it for them personally. It was spread out among those who needed. Big, big difference. So we have to put things in context. We need to see more than just one little line of text in the Bible. And we need to give those who don't believe, those who want to look at the Bible and say, see, that's a contradiction. We need to educate them on the fuller text of what was really going on. Whether it be this story or others, we need to feed them on the entire text. We need to show them that Joseph and the king had a good heart. They had a Christ-like heart, for a godly heart for what they were doing, not a greedy heart in what they were doing. It went to not what they were doing, but why they were doing it, the condition of the heart in what they were doing. We see Zacchaeus. In Luke 19:1-10, it says, "And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give the poor, and if I defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." So what is this showing us? What was Zacchaeus' heart at that time? We know Zacchaeus was a tax collector. We knew that Zacchaeus took more than his fair share and kept for himself for years. But he saw Christ. He saw the light. His heart changed. That's why Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house." Salvation came to him because his heart changed. Salvation came to the heart. He was a changed man. He was giving half of what he had to the poor. And if he defrauded anybody, he wasn't just giving back what he had taken. He's giving back fourfold in repentance to what he had done. Possibly to make up for the many years of hardship people had because of what he took. Can be a snowball effect in people's lives. You might have only been swindled out of this much, but this caused this, which caused this, which caused this. And it caused a ripple effect. It caused a snowball effect in people's lives. So he's giving back fourfold. Even people who were wrongdoing, it shows, can have a change of heart. They can turn into a godly heart. They can choose salvation. It's a choice that Zacchaeus made and everyone can make, to turn around, go back, go down the right path instead of the wrong path. The rich fool died. Why did he die? You might say, why did God not just take away everything from him? Why didn't he just burn down the barns? Well, it doesn't tell us specifically why he made the rich man die and not just lose it all. But in my opinion, it lies back to the story of the rich man and Lazarus. Did the rich man listen to Moses and the prophets? Did he believe and have a heart of Christ? No, he didn't. He had Moses and the prophets. When he died, he wanted to send somebody back from the dead to warn his brothers. What was he told? He was told, they have Moses and the prophets. If they're not going to listen to them, they're not going to listen to me sending somebody back from the dead. So I think that also applies here to the rich fool. Was he going to listen if he just lost it all? I don't think so. I think he died because losing it all wasn't going to be enough. It wasn't going to be enough to turn his heart. It wasn't going to be enough to change him. He would have just turned around and swindled or done something to somebody to get back on his feet. It wouldn't have changed his heart. Again, Pastor Earl showed us and explained last week that it was a condition of the heart. It wasn't where it should be. Again, same with the rich fool. The heart isn't where it should be. Think about it. Why did he have greed in the first place? Would he have greed if his heart was in the right place to begin with? If he had a heart for Christ, if he had a heart for God, if he had a right heart, the greed wouldn't have been there. We can't truly say we have a right heart, believer or not believer, because believers can have greed, but because our heart's not correct. Even though we're a believer, we're walking still down a wrong path. We may say we believe, we may have repented, we may have asked Christ to come into our hearts, but we're not listening. We're not following. It's just a surface thing, kind of like Pastor was saying last week with the rich man and Lazarus. It was on the surface. If it was surface level, it wasn't being produced. The works weren't there. Remember we said work in the passage that we have to have works, because it's not that works give us salvation. It's that they're a result of. If our heart's in the right place, if we're following Christ, if we're following his example, then if we're acting like he acted, then that's where the works come in, because we're acting in the same manner that he acted. We're emulating him. So that's where the works come in. It's not that those works give us the salvation. They're a product of. that emulation. The rich man, how could he have cared for Lazarus? We said he was rich. He could have employed him. He could have fed him even basic food. He didn't even have to feed him the sumptuous delicacies off that he was eating. He could have fed him basic food and sustained him. He could have provided doctoring for him. And like I said, could have employed him even, and gotten something out of, for at least some of what he was back for what he was giving him. He could have given him that and still had abundance. The rich fool, he could have given away that excess grain and still had abundance, still had plenty. The Bible basically tells us that it seems as if those barns that he had built already held abundance. He didn't need the above and beyond what these barns already held. Seemed like those barns were abundant to begin with. He's got beyond abundance. He could have given this grain away and still had abundance. And it kind of leads us to believe, without telling us directly, and partially why he may have died instead of just having it taken away, is how did he get that abundance? It kind of makes us wonder, doesn't it? Kind of like the skip portrays it. The Bible doesn't tell us specifically, but it really does leave open to surely the possibility that he may possibly have gotten that gain by swindling people, not being honest with people, or by doing what the Bible tells them not to do, which is glean all the way to the edges of the field, gleaning up all that was left behind from when they were clearing what was on the ground, taking every last drop, taking every grape that was on the ground if it were a vineyard. The Bible tells us not to do that. The Bible tells us to leave for those who are poor, leave for the sojourners, leave for others. We don't need to gather to that extreme. We need to leave for others. So the Bible surely leads us to interpret possibly that that's how he also may have gained his abundance. He was greedy after all. But he chose to be greedy. He chose this. He chose not to listen to those who spread the word of the Lord. He chose not to have a heart for Christ. So, we heard there's many Bible stories on the heart condition of greed and not having greed. What it looks like when we're greedy, what it looks like when we're not greedy, when we serve others, when we have a heart for Christ, when we do the right thing. We heard just a few of these stories. There's many, many more verses, many, many more stories in the Bible. If the Bible is this strong on the ones that we heard, and if there's that many more plus in the Bible, maybe as believers, maybe we should take heed. Maybe we should take stock of our heart. Maybe we should think about what we do. Is there more we could do? Can we do more? And I'm not saying any of us in this room are the rich fool. We're not the rich man with the rich man and Lazarus. But is there more we could do? Some of the things we can do and we can do more of is if we're smart with what God has given us. Because if we're faithful with little, he'll give us. He'll make us faithful with more. There are things we can do. Think about some of the things, not in a bragging way, just in a way of informativeness. Some of the things we've thought of, and I know we're not the first to think of, others have before us have thought of. When you go to the store and you see a sale for buy one, get one free, buy one, get two free. Do you need all of it? Are you going to use all of it? Why not give some to your local food pantry? Keep one for yourself, give one. You got one. It was buy one, get one. Why not give, if you would have paid for the one anyway, regardless of whether it was buy one, get one, why not give the other one to your local food pantry, your local food bank? Why not? Walmart has, it's going to be back to school time. Walmart has great back to school specials with crayons for like 49 cents and stuff like that. Notebooks for 15, 20 cents. Folders for a dime. When throughout the year, for some reason, they're 5, 10 times that price. They could sell them, not that they couldn't sell them probably that way all year long if they wanted to, but they don't. Why not stock up, give to your local food banks some school supplies for the kids? You can give some now, which they do need, but then there are groups that give a lot at this time. One of the things we like to do is stock up at this time of year, and then when the kids run out for going back to school after the holidays, when nobody's doing back to school supplies, then give the back to school supplies. Stock up now when they're on sale, and we can buy more for our money and then give later. It kind of reminds me of a show I watch occasionally, Extreme Couponers. There's different kinds of extreme couponers. I'm amazed how they can do it in the first place. I've seen them get a $1,000 order for like free or $1. Like, it's crazy. But there's different kinds of extreme couponers, though. There's some that have enough shampoo, toilet paper, you name it, that their kids are going to inherit it. Their elementary school kids are going to inherit that shampoo. If they didn't buy another single bottle, they could buy not one more bottle home, and their kids would still inherit that shampoo. There's those kind of extreme couponers that hoard, that are kind of like the rich fool. Then there's others I've seen. One's a mom. She buys up or gathers up free with her coupons and sales and stuff. Gatorade, Powerade, energy drinks, energy bars, granola bars, stuff that her kids' sports teams sell in their concession stand to raise money for equipment and uniforms and for pizza parties for the kids and for the kids to travel here and there. Well, she gets all that free, but instead of hoarding it, she gives it to her kids' sports teams to sell in their concession stand. So what they sell it for is pure profit, so they can do more for the kids with it. Then they don't have to ask the parents for money, and parents not feel bad because they can't afford it. They don't have to go to the coach and say, I don't have the money to do that. I can't afford the cost of that uniform. I can't afford the cost to send my kid to whatever tournament. You know? It keeps families from saying, sorry, you can't participate because I can't afford the fee. I can't afford the expenses that I know go along with that. Her extreme couponing, her giving up her time to do that, her generosity in what she's able to do and giving it instead of hoarding it gives back to others, even if she couldn't afford to buy it full price, but she's using the talents that God gave her to gather it for free, to give it away. It's not always about money. She didn't give monetarily. She gave of her talent and of her time to gather something that then became of monetary benefit to somebody else. So sometimes it's not even money. It's giving of our time and giving of our talents. That can be greed as well. It's not always money. The rich man and Lazarus, the rich fool, was about money, but it can also be about greedy with our time, greedy with our talent. I've seen food pantry people. We've seen where the food pantry put on a dinner. A food pantry family with older kids brought their family there to help in the kitchen, to help serve, and that they couldn't afford to give food for the dinner, but they said, you know what? We're young, we're healthy. It's a lot of older people putting on this dinner on their feet and whatnot. Maybe I can't give money. Maybe I am a recipient of the food pantry. I can't afford to give product for this dinner, but I can give of my time. I can give of my talents. And it wasn't just the parents. They brought their children. They said, guess what, kids? Christmas Day, this is how we're going to spend part of our day. We're going to give to other people who are needy. We're going to give back. We were given a meal that we will enjoy later. We'll cook it and give it later. But this morning, guess what? We're going to serve. We've been served. We should give back. We should serve. They're giving of their time. They're giving of their talents. Not because it was expected of them. No one said, in order for you to get this food, you have to come serve. They gave because they had a right heart. They saw a way of something that they could give. They saw what they had, not what they didn't have. They saw that they had health. They saw that they had strength. They had abilities, and they had time. They gave what they had. Kind of like the widow's mite gave what she had. They gave what they had. They saw what they had, and they gave. We've seen fundraisers at work. People on the shop floor, not always, but I'd say a vast majority of the people on the shop floor will give 2 or 3 times more than the people who make 1.5 or 2 times more than they do, that are sitting in an office, that are wearing a tie, wearing a suit. Even things being sold at the fundraiser. Guys on the shop floor will be like, keep the change. Keep it. We were doing ornaments one year. $5. Give $5 and get an ornament. Guys on the shop floor will hand you a $20 bill and say, doesn't need 4 ornaments. It'd be nice to have one on my tree to tell my kids about Operation Santa Claus, to tell them what it does, to remind them what it does. Not to say that I gave to it, but as just a reminder to tell the family the story of what the organization does, that they help kids. Your suit and tie guy most often would hand us $5 and grumble and say, $5? Ugh. Here, fine, $5. The guy on the shop floor gave us 20 and said, no grumbling, gave us 20. Said, sell the other 3 ornaments. Keep them. It's a heart condition. They say money, makes life easier. Well, to some extent. But does it give us a right heart? Does it always make life easier? Maybe in some regards. But are we always chasing more? And are we chasing more for the right reason? Are we looking for more so we can give more? Or are we looking for more to keep more? If we're looking for more so that we can do more, to give more, I would love to have more money so I can give more to this and more to that. Isn't such a bad thing. To want more so that I can keep more, that's where we get in trouble, because then it's never enough. Never enough. That's where the correctness of our heart comes in. So, like I said, even as believers, we have to check our heart. Are we doing all that we can do? Are we giving? Are we being faithful what we have? Are we looking for those bargains so that we can give? Are we looking for that back to school sale? Are we looking for that can sale twice a year at ShopRite, where the cans are ridiculously cheap so that we can give plenty? Are we looking to give smartly from what we have so that we can give more? Are we looking for that after Christmas sale? Check our hearts. See if we're looking for those opportunities that God gives us. Or are we just coasting by and saying, can't afford that, can't afford that. How are we going to be found? My final thought, and it leads into our last song. Matthew 25:37-40. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. Are we looking to have a servant's heart? Are we looking at the poor, the needy, emotionally needy, physically needy? Are we looking at them with the lens that we're helping Christ? I think if we looked at them as what we're doing for these, we're doing to Christ, we'd have a very different outlook. If Christ came up to us and said, I need help, are we going to deny him? Of course not. We might faint, but seriously, we need to look at these like the passage says, what you did to the least of these, you did for me. We need to be looking through the proper lens, through the proper glasses. Last week, Pastor couldn't find his glasses. He threw them in the garbage. He wouldn't have been seeing his notes very well. He wouldn't have been looking through the correct lens to see his notes. That might not have served him very well. We don't serve Christ very well when we don't put the right lenses on. Okay? So we need to make sure that we're looking through the right lens, giving our minds and our hearts the right message, the right look, that we're seeing the correct things, the correct way, and then acting on them. So we'll end with our last song, and let's take heed of being more of a servant.